Hi guys, Bob here, flying solo again, mainly for Rock Bear guitars, but possibly also for the Bob and Ramon show. Is about the guitar I'm holding, okay? Which is, get it into the picture, there you go. It's a Stratocaster. Is it? It's got all kinds of Telecaster stuff on it. Okay, it's called a Squier Paranormal Stratocaster Nashville, or Paranormal Nashville Stratocaster. They're quite new out, and the dealers are full of them at the moment. The recommended retail price is about £369, which is not really a lot of money. One's come into my hands, which I've had for a few days now. I love Stratocasters, I love Telecasters, I have to say this doesn't disappoint at all. Let me take you through it. Its volume's turned down, yeah. It's a Strat shape, Strat headstock, kind of feels like a Strat. It's double bound front and back, so it's got sharp edges, so it's got no comfort contour across here, and it's got no belly cut here, which I think some people will probably dislike. So the guitar feels a little lumpier when you hold onto it rather than that fantastic organic kind of smooth, hardly even know you're playing it, smoothed away feeling of a Strat. So you feel it a bit more. But apart from that, it's a Strat shape. The neck's pretty much a Strat neck. It's a decent C shape. It's not too skinny, it's not too thin. One thing that struck me about this instrument from the off is the first thing I listen to when I pick up an electric guitar is whether or not it rings. It's not a surefire way of telling you it's going to be good, but it's kind of more than 9 times out of 10. Because for the way I play the music I want to hear, I don't really want to play a deadish sounding, really rootsy feeling guitar most of the time. So I want a guitar that rings, and the acoustic ring of a guitar will tell you quite a lot about how the chassis is going to work before you worry with the electronics. And if you can hear this, that's the ring of the guitar acoustically, which for a cheap guitar is fantastic. Really fantastic. So step number one, first impression, and that was before setting it up or anything, just literally picking it up and hearing it ring. Great, really good. Okay, before I play it, I'll tell you a few of the things I felt I had to do with it. Effectively, I got it, it came to me straight out of the box. So there was a choice of two, and I picked this one because the fretboard was darker and smoother, and because the guitar rang slightly better. So of the two, this is the one I chose to take away for this video. Right, things I had to do. These are going to come over like criticisms. Everything else about the guitar is terrific, so these are very minor, but I'll just go through it. The guitar was set up with 9 to 42s, which are great for selling a guitar to kind of young, inexperienced hands, but very, very slinky for me on the Stratocaster, very slinky. So I took the strings off and popped 10 to 46s on, and they feel great. The next thing I did was I adjusted the truss rod. The truss rod was effectively not engaged at all, it was just about loose and not doing anything. And the neck had a bit of a bow in it. I prefer my neck to be really flat, and just, if you want to know how I do it, it's really simple. You fret the guitar on the bottom string, the low string, on the first fret, and with your thumb of the right hand, you fret it on the 12th fret, and then you just tap the string down, like I'm doing here, and see how much distance there is between the string and, what can I reach, the 7th fret, right? And there was quite a curve in this neck, so there was a fair amount of distance to depress the string. I adjusted the truss rod, tightened it up until there's the slightest of movement. When I hit it, you can still hear it ping, but the neck is virtually flat. That's how I like my guitars. Some people who hit the guitars harder like a little bit more relief in the neck. Very much a matter of taste, but for me, I adjust them flat. And most people who play my guitars say, wow, these are well set up. So That's the truss rod, the first thing to do. Second thing, obviously, had to adjust the action, which was a bit high, but the action came down. This is a Telecaster style bridge. Okay, so you've got 3 double saddles, so when we come to intonation we'll talk about that, but that's how you adjust the heights, and I took it down quite a lot. This is not an expensive bridge unit. I mean, it's fairly cheap pressed metal, and the saddles are chromed, God knows what. They're probably not steel and they're not brass like on a real fab telly, but if you wanted to get involved with this guitar and make that modification, I'm not sure how much a set of saddles would cost, but it's not going to cost a lot of money. So, very modifiable. The guitar strings through from the back, through these ferrules, so it's kind of like a Telecaster over here. Looks like a Strat, but it's set out like a Telecaster. The final thing was that the second string, the B string nut slot, was not cut very well. The nut is cut very well down here in terms of the overall action. Normally I find I have to drop the action on nuts a little bit. Not on this guitar. It's easy to play, and when you're playing cowboy chords, you can always tell if a nut is cut too high because you're pulling the strings too hard to fret the chord, and the chord goes out of tune with itself. Particularly the G string in an E chord. The G sharp in an E chord usually goes a bit out of tune. This guitar had no nut issues at all, but the B string nut slot was slightly badly cut, and so the B was zizzing a bit in its seat. At least the 009 was, the 009. When I put a 10 in, it's just filled out that space, and so now there's no buzz. So, in order, truss rod, action, nut, then finally intonation. Had to adjust the intonation a bit, which of course, being a Telecaster bridge where the strings are paired, it's a compromise between within each pair of strings. So the intonation on this guitar is not perfect, but it's damn near as, and it's only as bad or as good as a Telecaster, which is one of the greatest guitars I've ever made, so I'm not griping. So that's about it in terms of setup. Oh, and I also, I'll talk about the pickups now, I also adjusted the heights of the pickups slightly, just to get their relative volumes kind of right. So let's have a listen. I should talk about the controls, volume and tone, and a 5-way pickup switch, but the tone control also push-pull. So what I'll do is with it pushed down, the sort of normal position, I'll just run through a root chord with each of the 5 positions so you can hear the kind of tones that we're getting. So up goes the volume. This is the neck pickup. Okay, we'll have the middle pickup by itself next. So the first one, the neck pickup, is a Telecaster neck pickup. The middle one looks like and is a Strat pickup. Modern Alnico, nothing special, Strat pickup. Final position, everyone in the catalogues calls that position 1, I call it position 5 because it's further away from me. But the bridge position, it's a Telecaster pickup. And according to the blurb, it's supposed to be a bit broadcastery. Now, broadcasters were the very first Telecasters, and their pickups were wound slightly differently, different wire, different gauge of wire, and they do have a distinct sound. They've got a bit of a bonk and a thump to them. So, now bear in mind, the retail price of this guitar is £369. So God knows what the factory gate price of these pickups is. They probably buy them in for £10 the whole set. I don't know. These pickups sound amazing for a budget guitar. They really do sound fantastic. So that's positions 1, 3 and 5. It's also, because it's a 5-way switch, it's got middle positions. So if we go to the middle position, this is the neck and the middle pickup. It's got a little bit of nasal in it, quite nice. And if we go to position 4, or 2, if you count from the other way. So this is now middle and bridge. Now, just as on a real Strat, I tend to favour neck and middle over middle and bridge as a pickup selection. I know that's different to the famous Robert Cray sound is middle and bridge. That kind of, and they're properly played, but I'm not so crazy about that. Okay, now, so you've got your 5 positions. The only thing I'd observe about these pickups is I would say that the neck pickup itself is a little bit dark. I mean, I'm running everything with the tone on full through a Fender Deluxe, just straight in, nothing in the signal chain. And I would say, it suits my playing perfectly well, I'm unhappy with it, but I would say for some people the neck might be a little bit dark. I mean, remember, you've got a tone control here, so if it's a little bit brighter, you could always just wang it back a smidge and, you know, you'd be in the zone. Anyway, that's that. Now, the only remaining thing to show is what happens when you lift the tone control up. Now, on some guitars, this kind of configuration, I don't really like guitars with controls that lift and drop very much, because I'm not ever quite sure where I am with them, or with those ones that have got the buttons in the top of the volume control or the tone control. Because again, you just can't see where you are when you're under combat conditions, and for me that's important. So that's why I like a simple guitar. That's why when I used to have a Tom Anderson drop top years ago, it had one fatal flaw for me, which is that because it had 3 pickup switches by which you could engage each pickup, single or double coil, fantastic, very versatile. If they were all up, it was in series. If they were down, they were in parallel, and so out of phase, and really amazing array of sounds. But if all the pickup switches were in the middle position, the off position, the guitar was off. And so there you are in the middle of the gig, and you flip the sound quickly in a fairly complex switching arrangement to get you a solo sound, and you only go halfway on the switch, which is the little tiddly rocker switch, and it's dead. It's a right pain in the ass. So I'm just going to play you. The first thing is this push-pull on the tone only works, according to the blurb, in 2 positions. Actually, the blurb's wrong, it works in 3 positions, but I'll just show you from what I call number 1, neck. Okay, right, here we go, okay. Absolutely nothing at all. Not working, like advertised. No criticism, though if you were clever, you could actually have this push-pull doing something on all the pickups, giving you 10 tones, but park that. Nothing at all. What about in the 2nd position, which is middle and neck, okay? Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Okay, what about the middle position? Oh! Something happening there, and that's because this control is clearly having an effect on the middle pickup. Right, let's go into position 4, so middle and neck. Subtle, but there is a difference. It's shading off a little bit of the high end, a little bit of the gleam. Both really useful sounds. I mean, you know, for playing chords and stuff, this combination of the natural ring of the chassis and these cleanish pickups, great chord guitar. And finally, in your supposedly balls out bridge position, broadcaster pickup, okay? This is with the tone control down, so usual setting. Yeah. Yeah, pretty sharp. With it up. Okay. Quite a difference. So what this does is this switches in the neck pickup in combination with the other pickups selected, which is why it does nothing in these 2 positions, because the neck's already switched in. But it switches it in when you've got the middle, and incidentally, what's interesting is that if you pull the knob up and you go from my position 2 to my position 3, there's no difference, because both those positions, that is tone down position 2 and tone up position 3 are the same. They've got the same combination going, which again is a bit of a waste, but it's not the end of the world. And then when you get on to positions 4 and 5, where it's all about these pickups, you can bring the neck in with either both pickups or just neck and bridge, which is a lot of studio Strat players, you know, they want that neck and bridge, which you can't get on a Strat, regular Strat, unless you've got different switches. They kind of want that. And that's also on the previous Nashville Fender, which is, of course, a Telecaster with 3 pickups. It's almost like the previous Nashville Fender was almost like a Telecaster with a Strat inhabiting its body, whereas this is more like a Stratocaster with a Telecaster inhabiting its body. Anyway, that's it. That's all there is. It has got some absolutely fantastic sounds in it. I mean, you know. You know, for a low-cost guitar, well, £360 is a lot of money, I know, but compared to what guitars cost nowadays, you know, you pay £2.5, £3 grand for a lesser Les Paul reissue. If you can spend 10, 15 grand, there are PRSs going for 10, 15 grand, yeah, 360 quid, wow. This is an amazing guitar, amazing value. And of course, the other clever thing is under the pickguard, the routed hole for this neck pickup it's already big enough to take a humbucking pickup. So somebody, when they designed this, they thought, rather like, you know, you buy an amp for being a pedal platform, we're going to make a guitar that's going to be a pickup platform. Lots of people like to put humbuckers into their neck position of their tellies. It's a classic modification from the late 60s onwards. Well, on this guitar, you'd have to cut the pickguard, or maybe get another pickguard, because they're not very expensive, and cut that. So you could retro everything, but you could drop a humbucker in here, or you could drop a P90 in here, or you could drop a staple pickup, like, for example, one of these incredible staple pickups that my friend Stuart Robson at Sunbear Pickups is now making, which they sound fantastic. I just haven't got a guitar to put one in, or maybe I have. They sound amazing. So that's a staple pickup like you got on the 50s Les Paul Customs, the black Les Paul Customs, and also on some of the jazz guitars of the time, Al Nico staple pickup. P90 but with a twist, really nice. So you could drop a humbucker or a P90 or a staple or a Filtertron, a Gretschy type Filtertron or a TV Jones. The body's already gouged. The wire's already coming through. All you would have to do is change the pickguard, which is the low cost. That's a clever forward-thinking piece of design. So I reckon these guys have really got it right. Also, I really love gold guitars. And this is a beautiful gold guitar. It's really beautifully finished. The finish and the setup and the fretwork and everything, bear in mind this is a Chinese mass-produced guitar. It's fantastic. The only other thing I've noticed about it is peculiar, and it doesn't really bother me, but I'm not sure if I can even duplicate it now, but can you hear a tiny little crackling as I stroke the tuning machines? If I stroke the backs, it goes away. If I stroke the strings, it goes away. If I earth the strings with my hand, it goes away. But there's something static about these tuning pegs. Now, it's very, very quiet, and most of the time I'd have my hands on the guitar while I was tuning it like that anyway, so it's really not a problem. But I don't understand why these tuning buttons are static. They are. Hell's teeth. Right, there you go. I thought you'd like to see that. I'd love to see your comments about, you know, the guitar itself, anything I've said. But I would have to tell you, this is supposed to be a limited edition. I mean, limited edition these days is basically make it until people stop buying it. So I think that's marketing hype. But nevertheless, these are in the shops. And this is a classic confrontation of guitarists' conservatism. Guitarists are so conservative, they really want to buy a Stratocaster and a Telecaster and a Les Paul and a 335, and they don't want it mucked around with. This guitar has obviously been mucked around with because it's a Telecaster on a Strat, but bear in mind it's a combination of two of the most famous and adored guitars ever made, it's a hell of a good job. It's much nicer to play than the Nashville Telly version, the inverted version that came out a few years ago that I played. It's a really, really nice guitar. Plays like the wind. Definitely worth a gig. So I would say, if the world was full of people like me, I think there'd be a rush on the shops for this. But we'll see. It may well be that people don't buy them and that they get, very soon they get diffused out through the supply chain. You'll be able to find one on eBay or Reverb for, I don't know, mid-high 200 quids, maybe touching 300 quid. It's a lot of guitar for the money. A lot of guitar for the money. So, that being the case, I hope you've enjoyed this. The Squier, made in China, Paranormal Nashville Stratocaster, or is it a Telly? For your pleasure. See you next time. Bye.